don't know if y'all can see how big this is. So I was at Enchanted Forest doing a fall garden talk, and I was not planning on getting any more desert roses this fall, but when I see something like this, I have to take advantage of it. So I found this desert rose at the front in their succulent area, and it's a big CAUDEX. So I almost got a different one, but then I saw how knotted up these roots were on this one, and I had to get it. If you look down, you'll see that this guy is root bound. You can see the big knots. I mean, this is got a lot going on down there. So I went with this one. See how curly it is. It needs some pruning, like up top. I see some limbs that are kind of barely hanging on. There's some growth going on, like it's crossing, so we're going to take this one off and maybe even this one. But the CAUDEX really interested me. The one that I was going to get was grafted and had a beautiful flower on it, and I almost got that one, but this one had a much more interesting CAUDEX, so I went ahead and picked this one up just for CAUDEX sake. So about to hit my camera with that limb, but let's get this out of the pot, cleaned up, and put it in a new pot and ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and get this taken out of the pot. Oh, and by the way, I paid 40 bucks for this, so if y'all are near the Enchanted Forest, there's another one that's not as nice of a CAUDEX as this one, but there's one over there that looks kind of similar to this. It's 40 bucks, so go get it. I'll move the soil out of the way. Here we go. Are y'all ready for this? There we go. The big reveal. Oh my God. It's really in there. Is it growing at the bottom? Oh yeah, look at that. It's growing out from underneath the pot. So it's growing out the bottom of the pot right here. Yeah, I can do a couple things, but I'll probably just make a decision. We'll just go ahead and cut this off and hopefully be able to get it out. I don't feel like cutting this pot apart. Here we go. There we go. Boom. Just like that. Go ahead and get the turntable up here. Oh, this is gonna be a good reveal. I mean, look at all those roots. Look at the bottom. Holy crap. Look at that. Wow. Okay. I was originally planning on putting it in this pot. I don't know if that's gonna work or not. I don't think so. I don't think that pot's gonna be good enough. Let's see. Let's get busy. Start removing some of this. Wow, this is bigger than I even imagined. We're gonna go ahead and remove this one right here. Go ahead and clip that off. Duke, where you at? Where's my dog? Duke, come here. Come here. The dog's playing nosy neighbor today. Come here. Come here. Come. Wow. This is much bigger than I imagined. I did not think that it was going to be this big. Paintbrush is really nice for getting this soil off without damaging the plant. Nice soft bristled brush. And I got the turntable on here to kind of help ease the spinneroonies. But we're exposing more of that CAUDEX, and already I'm seeing how beautiful this CAUDEX is. Wow, look at that. Look at that. This for 40 bucks, this is a steal. Should have bought both of them. And I let these dry out for a couple days. I don't water these for a couple days before I work on them, so that the soil isn't all muddy and nasty. So it's easier to work with like that. And that's with any plant. If you're going to transplant something, I would say try to avoid watering it for a couple days beforehand, just so that it's easier to water. Oh my God, this thing is insane. I wonder if I have a pot big enough for this. I might have screwed up. Nah, I think we'll find something. Got a couple pots around here, we can make it work. That's the benefit of never getting rid of any of your pots. I never get rid of any of my pots unless they're just totally destroyed. But man, this is a beauty. This is a monster. I was not expecting to see this yesterday going to do a fall garden class. I mean, Enchanted Forest has a pretty good selection of desert roses. I bought a couple there in the past, but they have I've never seen one this big from there. I believe they were saying this comes from a grower in San Antonio. I forget the name, Outman or Altman, I forget. But man, this thing is just beautiful. I was not expecting to find another monster yesterday. So I know how high I'm going to go with this. I'm probably going to expose quite a bit of this CAUDEX. So I'm going to go ahead and prune some of this upper rootage because I'm going to expose a lot of this. So we'll keep going to the top, keep going from this top growth. Pop some of this stuff off. And like I said, I'm using these bonsai scissors. I'm not a bonsai artist by any means, but I do use bonsai skills, I guess, bonsai tools for precision. And these are like surgical steel. I think they're stainless steel actually. Really nice, but I make sure to sterilize them after every use. That way I'm not doing like cross-contamination. It'd be like if you were going from pork to chicken with the same knife, you know? So always sterilize your tools after each use. So look at that crevasse. Got some knotting going on up here. This is gonna look crazy in a second. Hope y'all are catching all this. This is an incredible plant. I go to a lot of nurseries, do a lot of tours, and do garden talks with people, so that's why I find stuff like this. People ask me, how do you find these giant desert roses? I say, well, I go to a lot of nurseries. And see, this might be my new biggest one. Holy crap. This is amazing. I'm so excited right now. Oh my God. Are y'all seeing all this? I mean, man, this is beautiful. We haven't even exposed all of it yet at all. This is crazy. That's why I love the brush. You can use a chopstick, like I've got a stainless steel chopstick, but I feel like it's really abrasive for up against those roots. You can really make some accidental gouges that you don't want to. Like, this is huge. I was not expecting to find this yesterday for 40 bucks. Like, this is easily, I mean, this is easily an 80 to 100, maybe $150 desert rose anywhere else. So I am very happy with this finding. Look at that. It looks like someone's crossing their legs. It's bizarre looking. I love when they get that crazy knotting. I asked them, I was like, did y'all put that there like specifically to get me excited? Did y'all put that there because you knew I was coming? Oh my God, this is incredible. Oh, they'll be raising the prices after this. Wow. This video is gonna go nuts. Just keep getting in there. And it can be a little bit rough because I already made an incision down there. So we're gonna wait about a week to water this anyway. So I'm not so much worried about the incisions that I'm making. I'll let this completely heal over and dry before I water. so they can heal up fully. But we're just going to keep going and get all of this. It's like mostly pine bark mulch. It seems like pine bark mulch, and I see some green in there, so that means there's probably some Osmocote in here, or some, they call it Green Star or whatever. I know that fertilizer name. It's a slow release pellet. This one didn't have any blooms on it, but I saw the one I was gonna get. I think this will probably be closer to the same color as that, which is kind of a cross between my Red Star and the Princess Peach, I think. He was very beautiful, like so beautiful. Hope y'all can see everything I'm doing. Trying to be the best self-cameraman I can be. All by myself this weekend. Oh my God, this is incredible. This is, I don't know if y'all are getting all this, but dear Lord, this is beautiful. And as I'm going through, I'm looking for any soft spots or anything like that where there might be some rot. So I'm going through and checking all of that as I go to make sure that there's no disease or rot on the plant. A lot of soil. Kind of getting in there with this brush, moving all the soil. Some people will even take a hose and go in and spray all the soil out. I don't really do that usually. I feel like I get enough of it with the brush, and then when I'm watering, I get quite a bit of that soil out later on. So some people would probably go as far to chopping this. They would like literally take a steak knife and cut it, boom. And then I've seen them actually take a styrofoam or like a board and put it on the bottom, so that when it heals up, all the roots grow horizontally and you get that bonsai effect. But I tend to just let them be kind of natural. I don't really do too much with that. This is a nice little mandrake. Mandrake is the name of that Harry Potter creature that when they yank him out of the soil, if you don't have headphones on, you'll go deaf. It's basically based on these things. See, this guy, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this yet. I might take this one off. Some of these smaller roots I'm definitely gonna take off. I'll probably go here. And always wear, most people should wear gloves when handling this kind of stuff. The sap can be toxic if ingested, or in an open wound, it can make you sick. So be very careful. Be very careful when handling this stuff. I don't know if I'm an expert, but I handle a lot of these things, so I'm pretty well adjusted to the ways to handle them. I'll make sure I wash my hands before I go to the bathroom or eat anything afterwards. But if you're just learning how to do this, make sure to wash your hands or wear gloves, latex gloves probably, because this sap can mess you up. Get my finger in there and kind of scooping this way. This one might be a good one that I would, would be a good idea to use some water. Look at the knottage. Look how knotted up it is. So I want to try to get as much of that soil out of here as I can. We're going to take this one out. Just trying to go through and, so I'm going to be potting this, like, I might be able to put like all this north of the top of the pot. So I mean, I can take a lot of this roots off. I mean, good Lord, I paid $40 for this. I paid $40 for this desert rose, and it might be my new biggest desert rose. This is insane. I mean, they get pretty big. This is a big boy. This is an explanation of why I had someone recently send me a DM on Facebook asking me if they should repot their adeniums. And I told them, I was like, well, it depends on what you want, because this, you can see it was in a deeper pot. So it's going to put on more vertical growth. It's going to go deeper. So that's kind of what this was. If it had been in a more shallow pot going out, it would have probably had more root spread and a bigger, wider CAUDEX, not just a narrow CAUDEX. So if you had this in a more shallow pot, I think it would have been a little better off. So that's why when I repot all my stuff, I put it in a shallow pot, because I want everything to kind of grow out instead of down, because that's how this kind of happened. Like I said, I'm going through here, I'm kind of cutting off some of this stuff up top, because I think I might be able to use that original pot and have almost all of this exposed on top. Like, this is pretty wild idea, but I kind of like it. And you can get pretty creative with these, potting them up the way you want them. Like I said, the key is, if you're going to make a bunch of, if you're going to make like some cuts like I'm doing, we're not going to water this for 2 weeks. We're going to put it in the shade afterwards. We're not going to put it back out in full sun. We're going to let it completely heal up for about a week or so in the shade, and then I'll move it out into the sun and I'll start watering it. And you want to do this stuff in the growing season. You don't want to do this in the middle of winter. You don't want to do this at Christmas or anything like that. You want to do these in the middle of the growing season. That way they have time to recover. So right now, you might be thinking it's October, Dustin. Well, I'm in Texas. I'm in Houston. It is probably 90 degrees outside right now. It is way warmer than I was expecting. I actually bought cabbage and stuff from my winter garden yesterday. And I'm kind of afraid to put it out, because I'm kind of scared that it's going to bolt and go to seed real quick. So I don't know. That'll be another video. But let's get in here and get in this crevices. And it's actually really warm on my camera. I hope my camera's not going to shut off from heat. I don't want my camera to overheat. But we're making some cuts. Make some cuts, and if you're going to do that, like I said, make sure that you let it heal up before you water, because you start watering them before they heal up, that's when you start seeing disease. So we're doing some, I would say we're doing some moderate pruning on this one. I wouldn't say heavy pruning, we're doing some moderate pruning. And a lot of these techniques I've been learning a couple years now from Jerome at the Bonsai Supply. He has been a really good buddy and a wealth of knowledge for, bonsai, which is bonsai, I guess, which is a real art, an art form. And I wouldn't call what I do bonsai. I'd probably describe, I use some of the bonsai techniques, but I definitely would not claim to be a bonsai artist, because I don't do any wiring really. I've wired up a couple of these, but I definitely don't do a full wire job. I mostly just use the bonsai planting technique so that I have really good draining soil. I'm gonna take my pocket knife, my Velcro, and I'm just gonna go in here and make a little incision. Don't want to get too crazy with it. Let's cut back some more first. Take this guy out. I'll get it as flush as I can. Be careful whenever you're working with these, that you, whenever you make your cuts and your things go on the ground, that your dog doesn't eat them or anything like that, because these are not safe for kids or animals. There we go. Oh, that's a nice clean cut. That worked out nice. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I'm gonna pick that up actually because my dog is hanging out right next to me. And I don't want him to eat any of this. That's looking pretty good so far. So I'm gonna go make some of these smaller incisions. I may have to go inside and let my camera cool down because it's kind of warming up. I don't want my camera to overheat. So I may have to take a break. I'm starting to overheat a little bit too. It's much, much hotter than I was expecting it to be today. But making these incisions, making a couple incisions, making a couple prunes. Little hair-like roots down here. Just kind of going through here and cleaning stuff up, getting everything nice and flush so that it kind of heals up nice. You don't want a bunch of chunky stuff hanging out. Try to get all this cleaned up, get everything, all this soil cleaned out. Definitely gonna take this one off. And if you wanted to, you could take this and you could let it heal. You could let it sit in like the shade and completely heal up before you wanted to pot it, but I'm looking to do this same day. So we're gonna pot it and then we'll wait a couple days, about a week, before we water it. And we'll sit this in the shade. Just going through and taking out some of these hairline roots that are kind of just a nuisance. Like I said, you don't have to get all the black soil out. That whenever you start watering it, it'll kind of take care of that itself. Even get here with the chopstick a little bit, kind of dig some of this out. All right, guys. So my camera overheated mid-process, so went ahead and continued to get this guy. Once you start, you got to finish. So went ahead and I finished pruning up the desert rose. And you can see right here, did a pretty good job cleaning it up. I did take some of the lower stuff off just because it was kind of all mangled and wrapped up, and I wanted to kind of clean it up. So I cut quite a bit out of it. A lot more than I was expecting to, honestly. It actually works out because I really wanted to use this pot that I picked up in Alabama. I picked this pot up from a place called Myers Plants and Pottery, and I believe they thrift a lot of the stuff that they sell. A lot of the pots are like secondhand, and this terracotta, I'm telling you, is just gorgeous. Like, it is amazing. Like, I love it. It's got the age and the patina on it, and I was like, man, that would be perfect for a desert rose, and especially one of this size. So I think it's going to turn out really nice. I don't typically do super ornate pottery when I pot these desert roses, mostly because I want the focus to be on the actual plant. I want the focus to be on the desert rose and not on the pot. So that's why I typically don't do like super fancy pots. So we're gonna get our wire and our mesh so we can put a bit of a hole, cover this hole down here, let the water go through, but not let all the bonsai soil go to the bottom. I wonder if this is big enough. Be perfect. We'll go a little bit bigger. That one's not quite big enough. Let's see. I'll go a little fatter with this one. There we go. So we got some mesh. This is plastic. And then we also have our bonsai wire right here. We're going to take some bonsai wire. I don't know, maybe about yay much. On my Felcos, last video I used my bonsai cutters, but on your Felcos, there's a little notch right there that's actually made for cutting wire. So it won't damage the actual blades of your pruners if you use it to cut wire. So we'll take our mesh and our wire. We're going to go to the inside of the pot. I did that backwards just now. And we're going to push it through. And on the bottom, we're just going to flatten it out. And then I usually will like curl it in. Just like that. And what that'll do is keep our bonsai soil from floating out the bottom. I'm going to be using my favorite soil mix. This is Soul Soils. You can pick it up. I got a link in my bio for y'all to get 10% off. But I'll take it, and I'll usually dump it in this container. It makes it easier to scoop. And you can see it's pretty rocky. It's got pine bark. It's got, what else? It's got pine bark. We got calcined clay, granite, pumice, and expanded clay. So good material, allowing for really good drainage, and it'll still allow the plant to thrive. And they make all kinds of blends for like orchids and cactuses and succulents. They even make this really nice scoop now. I love this little scoop. So we're just gonna start topping this off, start adding some soil. I can dump a little bit in there to get it started. This one might need more than one bag of soil if I had to guess. Wipe that screen off. Wipe that lens off. So we'll take my chopstick. Just gonna try to get any air pockets out of there. Kind of make a plate for the desert rose. I think we should be good there. And we'll kind of start filling in those gaps. And you want to make sure as you're adding soil that you're making sure that you get everything into those crevices. That's what's nice about this little scoop, because it's kind of nice. You can directionally aim your soil. Probably definitely gonna need 2 bags in this one. It's a 2-bagger. What's nice about this little Lazy Susan is a lifesaver. Another tip from my buddy Jerome with the Bonsai Supply. He showed me using one of these for the first time, and I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh, the cake decorator stand. I was like, oh, thanks, man. I'm gonna get one of those for sure. I think it's stainless steel. It pretty much stays outside with my aluminum table, and I don't ever bring it inside. I never ever bring it inside. I pretty much always leave it out here, and I don't have any issues with it rusting or any blemishes or any markings or anything like that. Kind of just stays pretty fresh. It doesn't really rust that much. I'll probably pour some of this in here. I'm gonna need more than 1 bag, I'm sure, of this. And we'll spread it around. Like I said, you wanna make sure you get in those crevices. Got this little stainless steel chopstick. Got a couple of them actually. Buy them like in a 10-pack. I use that to go in here. Oops, almost tripped on my tripod. go in here and we're going to move this soil around. Move that soil around, get it in all those crevices. Spread it into all the crevices down there. Like I said, I was not expecting to find this yesterday. My wife is kind of tired of me buying desert roses, but when they're $40, it's hard to say no. $40 for this is insane. That was a really good deal, and you can see my collection is growing right over there. Still trying to figure out where I'm going to do with all these this winter. I'll bring them all in the garage, and that is probably what is going to happen this year too. As I'm going through, I'll plus more mulch. Try not to get any black soil. When I say black soil, I mean like, you know, the soil that they're using from the nursery that originally planted this stuff. They'll grow this stuff in black mulch soil with torpedo sand and all kinds of stuff, and I just want to try to get all that out as I go. But eventually it'll all wash out once you start watering, so we're going to keep going, filling this up, and we will end up setting this in the sun, set this in the shade for at least a week. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need that second bag. Glad I got a second bag. I go through this bonsai soil pretty quick, so it pays to have quite a bit of it on hand. And you can use whatever soil you like. You know, obviously, I'm a fan of bonsai soil because it's so well draining. You know, if you do this in black soil, that's fine. You're gonna want to have to protect your plant a lot more carefully, because the problem with black soil is it holds moisture, and that's cool for a lot of plants, but it's not really something you want with desert roses and certain succulents, because water being held up against the CAUDEX, against the root, that's how rot happens. That's how fungus and all kinds of crazy diseases will happen from just moisture sitting up there on the trunk. So you want to do your best to try to get a really good draining soil. But if you're going to use the black soil like Miracle Grow or whatever you use local to your area, at least make sure that it's well draining. And if it's raining a lot, maybe put it under an awning or something, or bring it inside, or put it in the garage for a week and let it kind of dry out, because if it sits up there against the CAUDEX, that is how you're going to get rot. And I'm using my chopstick right here. I'm going in there and I'm twirling it, kind of twerking my chopstick to get all those air pockets filled in. Whenever you're filling these, doing these repots with this soil, it can leave air pockets in the voids, can fill up with water when you start watering, and that's where you get mildew as well. So going through like this and trying to get all those holes out in the voids, not only does that, but it also helps pack the soil in and helps really hold the desert rose in place. And look at how beautiful this is. I mean, this is outstanding. Let me get into the bag of soil. All right, we're gonna keep going with this soil. That's where I'm gonna really use the scoop to help spread it consistently across. Come here. Come here, boy. My dog is ready to go inside. He is a German Shepherd, and he is probably, if he was me, he'd be sweating like crazy right now. Basically wearing a fur coat out in the backyard, and it's October, but it feels like August. It feels really warm today. Really warm today. So just going through here, packing in the best I can. Like I said, once it scabs over, heals up, we'll start watering this. And you know, a lot of that extra soil, a lot of that black soil that's left over from the original nursery pot that it was in, will wash out. So I'm not overly concerned about it. Since we're not watering yet, I don't think there's gonna be any rain this week. I don't think we're in the forecast anyway, but you'll notice as I'm going through and I'm poking in that the soil sinks and kind of packs in against the CAUDEX. So that's a good sign. So I wouldn't normally prune these desert roses, like a new one like this, because I'm not really familiar with the variety. And I don't know whether or not this is an old enough plant to start putting out seed pods. So I wouldn't normally do any pruning up top, but this plant has some limbs. They're kind of growing at an inopportune direction where they're kind of getting in the way, not really going the right direction. So I am going to do some pruning up top. When I'm looking at the plant, I'm seeing this limb right here. It's kind of lower than the rest of them, but I'm also seeing this one that's kind of smaller and kind of shooting out to the side. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and snip this one as flush as we can go. And then we're also going to snip this one. Like I said, we're going to go as close as we can. Some people will use a knife or a scalpel for this. I'm going to use my surgical steel pruners. And then there was also one like right here. I think I did this. I think this was my doing whenever I was traveling. I think I packed it in too tight, so we're just gonna snip this one off too. Leave that. We'll look up here, see if there's any rot or anything that's kind of messed up. We can kind of do, we're still in the growing season, so it is a time where we can do this. I just usually don't want to prune anything off if I think there's a possibility that it will put on seed pods. So I don't know. Looks like it's been pruned in the past. You can see wherever you prune, it usually throws off new limbs. So everywhere you prune, see how this was pruned, got a new one there, prune, that new one there, prune, new one there. I think I'm gonna take this guy off. I don't like the way it's growing. We'll leave the new stuff. I almost should take this one off. I think I'd rather take this one off more than anything. Got some dieback right here and here. But I don't know if I want to get too crazy with it. Maybe just this guy. I could almost wire this and pull this down a little bit, or maybe even wire this one. I don't know. It's pretty established already. And you see how this one's growing? This one right here is growing into this branch. I'm gonna go ahead and take this one off. This is in Houston. You can still do stuff like this. You can still do stuff like this in October if it's still fairly warm. We're doing pretty good as far as weather goes. I don't suspect we're going to be getting an early winter this year, although I have been fooled before. But other than that, I mean, this turned out really nice. I mean, for $40, I mean, this is a pretty good buy. And you're not going to find this for $40 anywhere else. But Man, look at that. Oh, and all the cuttings, we're gonna let these cuttings scab over, let them, the ends dry up, and we're gonna replant these, and that will create more desert roses. The only thing you need to know about propagated desert roses from cuttings is that they will flower sooner, but they'll never grow a giant CAUDEX like this. It'll never happen. They'll be tall and skinny, but they won't be short and fat. It would never happen. They typically will, you typically grow them from cuttings if you want to get flowers quick, but you're not really gonna get a fat CAUDEX like most people desire. So, but I hate to waste them, so I don't. I keep them and propagate them and let them do their thing. But yeah, we're gonna sit this under my shade cloth and give it about a week or so before I water this. I will do updates on these. This is the time of the year where I go ahead and do quite a bit of repotting. I know most people will probably do their repotting in the early spring, which next year I probably will. But I got so many new ones this year, and I grew a lot from seed as well. So I'm kind of behind. As crazy as it sounds, as many repotting videos as y'all seen of mine, I'm kind of behind on repotting. I got a bunch I need to repot actually, including the monster Adenium that I got last year, the one that is like 4 desert roses all combined in one. So, and then I got a ton of videos about it. I don't just grow desert roses, honestly. This is just a small part of what I do, but it's becoming more and more popular. So hope you all enjoyed this video, and see you on the next video.